Come on in the room. Come on in the room. You know what time it is. It's Therapy Tuesday. I hope you're ready. We got an amazing segment for you on tonight. Holiday Burnout. As we get closer to the holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, for some people, it's tiring, it's weary. A lot of burdens come with this time of the year. So tonight, we're coming to bring some tools, some principles, just to help you get through, just to let you know it's okay what you're feeling. Whatever you may be going through, it is okay. But we're here for you. We have something for you just to keep going, just to give you a little extra as you push through. Because, hey, sometimes finances may not be what you want it to be. You may have lost a loved one during this time. So there's so many different dynamics that happens around this holiday time. So tonight, we want to help you be successful and get through this holiday season. So we have our lovely boss mom, career mom, entrepreneur, mom of the year. She just does so many things, wears so many hats. And guess what? It's not something she hasn't experienced in her own life. She's not just a therapist, but she's lived this. She has lived this. She speaks from experience and knowledge. So y'all already know this is her home. As we bring her to the stage, I just want you to get excited about getting some tools. Matter of fact, before you do that, like it, subscribe if you're on YouTube, Facebook, share it, send it to somebody, because you never know who's feeling that burnout already, and the holidays haven't even fully got here. So if you could do that for us, let us know. We appreciate you of what you're doing, of being here, of supporting love and faith. Y'all, we do this because kingdom is everything. It's not just praying. It's not just the spiritual, but your mental matters. So we appreciate you. Let me know where you're coming in from. Send us a wave. Y'all get active in the chat for me on tonight. Respond, ask your questions. I'll have a number in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable texting in the chat, you can send it anonymously to the number that will be on the screen. So if you got some questions asked, this is your time. Hey, if you've been questioning if I can get a therapist, guess what? I got one here for you tonight. Ask her your questions, okay? There is no wrong question. There is no dumb question. So I just need you to be you and get what you need. So like I said, we have my sister, my friend. You know, she can't be my therapist, but sometimes I try to make it. But she's everything to a lot of people, okay? Like I said, she is the owner of Lifespire Counselor Services down in Deltona, Florida. She's up and down on the East Coast with many partners under her. Y'all, they believe in striving for the family, for excellence, for bringing your brokenness, as we do here, bringing your brokenness together, bringing your shattered pieces together. So y'all, none other, please welcome Miss Janae Ponder to the stage.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be back home, bringing you another Tuesday talk. Today, we're talking about holiday burnout, leading, loving, and resting in times of demand. This time of year is always very hard because working hard and being a servant and buying gifts and spending money is so socially acceptable. So it's so easy to burn out and you won't have any accountability. So we're going to talk about it today. So please take care of yourself. If I say something that triggers you, it's not my intention to trigger you. That might look like logging off. It may look like going to get something to drink, but take care of yourself. I do have recommendations for success. Remain present. I know it's late. The sun's down. You might be a little tired, but you deserve 60 minutes of self-care. And that's exactly what I'm going to give you. Let's have a good discussion. Comment in the chat, text anonymously, or text. I want you to participate. Participating makes this fun. Let's have some fun. Take notes. Notes are very useful because you might not be able to retain what I'm presenting to you unless you document it so you can go back and reflect later. My objective today, I want to just raise your awareness. I want to show how people pleasing is correlated or related to holiday burnout. I want to build your confidence, help you set some boundaries and learn how to lead, love, and rest better. Set some boundaries. I want you to acknowledge how trauma gets involved in this whole process. More importantly, this is a call to action. I want you to take action. No longer will you close your eyes to the cause of your suffering, but you're going to get involved. You're going to get your hands dirty. You may even create a plan to prevent your burnout. And my last objective is just to create a safe space where you can connect and heal. Just sharing your story is so healing. And this is an environment once a month where we are coming together to give you an opportunity to heal. So, I love social media. I know right now social media has been a little crazy all over the place, but every now and then social media would drop a nugget, and it dropped one. So I'm sharing this with you to jumpstart our conversation today. Please love yourself instead of loving the idea of other people loving you. So profound. When I read it, it just paused me in my tracks. And it brought me back to what we call the looking glass window. That is, I think I am what other people think I am. Not I think I am what I think I am, but I am what I think other people think I am. And this has to do with holiday burnout, because a lot of times during the holidays we burn out because we're doing a lot of things for approval. We want people to love us. We want people to like us while we're burning. We're setting ourselves on fire to keep other people warm. And that quote just resonated with the lesson. So I thought I'll open up with that. So I want you to reflect on this question. Do I have the disease to please? I want you to reflect. Think about yourself. We're going to come back to it, but just think on it. I'm dropping it in your spirit right now. But today, I want you to take a good look under the hood of your own car. Do a diagnostic. See if you have some people-pleasing tendencies. See if there's some things that need to be rearranged. You know, I always say a mechanic will not fix a car if they don't first look under the hood to see what's wrong. And you are the mechanic today. You're the mechanic for yourself. I want you to self-identify as a people pleaser. Check your own tendencies. A lot of times we can't heal ourselves because we're not looking at what's broken. And then there are even sometimes we will see that things are broken or things are off, but we will still get in our car and drive it. Today, I want to encourage you to stop doing that. I want to give you permission to stop doing that. If something doesn't feel right, it's off, let's figure out how we can fix it and get some resolve so we can live lives that's worth living. So I gave you some time to reflect on that question and talked about knowing yourself so you can heal yourself, looking under your own hood. Now let's see if you are someone who might be a people pleaser. Are you always wanting to be accepted and not seen as the problem? This is someone who's striving for perfection, striving to make everybody happy. And the moment that you don't, your world is devastated, or you have an adverse reaction to it. Are you easy to go along with things to keep the peace? We call these passive personalities. Some people call them doormat personalities. People could just walk all over you because the only thing you're focused on is keeping peace. Are you giving so much of yourself sometimes to your own detriment? That question or that statement is, are you giving in a way where you're causing self-harm? It's not fun to give. Are you saying sorry even when it's not your fault? Unnecessarily apologizing creates unnecessary guilt. And when we feel guilty, it's a very heavy burden for us. And it communicates that we have committed a crime. Our behavior is wrong. So essentially, self-care gets categorized as a crime, and you feel guilty even when you're doing good things for yourself. Are you someone pouring into others even when your own cup is empty? You know, I had an epiphany today. You know, forget pouring from an empty cup. How about when things are on fire, they disintegrate? Let's protect the cup. If the cup isn't whole, it can't even hold water. You can't pour into yourself or other people if there is no cup. And I think this discussion today, I'm encouraging you to take better care of the cup itself. We are always so consumed with the contents of the cup, whether it's empty or full. But I am more concerned with if you even have a cup at all because you're so burnt out. Are you avoiding conflict because you don't want to be labeled as angry or difficult? So if you say yes to any of these, you are probably a people pleaser. And I help you look under your own hood. Thank me later. And you may not people please 100% of the time, but there are certain scenarios and situations that will put you in that people pleasing position. So I want to share this with you, and I want you to lean in when I say this. Trauma teaches you that people can only care about you when you are useful. Yes. We learn it through survival messages, through transgenerational trauma. Sometimes it's not even specifically articulated, but it's demonstrated through behaviors. We learn that we matter because of what we do for people. And it really is sad when we see it manifesting in our lives, especially as adults when it's something you learned as a child. This looks like always wanting people to be happy and always being willing to do things. And when you can't do things, you feel like you have no value. So I want you to connect with me. You can think about it, or you can even put it in the chat if you're brave enough. What experiences in your life support the idea that you are only valued when you are useful? And this is it's kind of scary because there are a lot of things in our world that reinforces allowing yourself to be used, or overcommitting, or giving more than what you have. Think about how people are treated when they give more. Sometimes they're praised, sometimes they're liked and revered after. And really, they're being used. And your brain doesn't recognize it's being used. It just knows that it feels good when people acknowledge us when we do things. So sometimes that praise reinforces the behavior. People treating us a certain way because of what we do for them makes us continue to do for them, but really we are being used. So just think about what experiences, and I'm just looking at the chat. It says, I only hear, okay, Kimberly shared, I only hear from most people when there's a need. Absolutely. And believe it or not, when people call because they have needs, I have come to know that it's not because they're selfish. Remember, survival is programmed in the brain. So a lot of times people seek after what they need because they're just trying to survive. They are subconscious. They're not mindful. They're not in their bodies. Yes. And when people need to survive, they will go to places where they can get resources. And you have to make a choice that you're not going to continue to be the resource that they have access to. And that's not always so easy. Okay, someone else shared in the chat, how do I fix myself when I'm angry? I walk out instead of talking about the problem. Okay. And I don't know if that was an actual question, but if it is, circle back at the end and ask that so we can have a discussion around that. All right. Okay, just checking the chat, making sure I'm not missing anybody. So here's what we need to avoid. Okay, it is a question. So we'll talk about it later. Thank you for clarifying that. Giving to earn approval. Giving so people will like you. Giving so people will accept you. Giving so you can be loved. I came to this epiphany a while ago. Even when you give, people still have the right to abandon you and leave you. If you really looked at the bigger picture, no matter how you give, it doesn't really protect you from disapproval or abandonment, because people still do what they're going to do anyway. Avoid helping without being asked. That's another one. I call that chronic helping syndrome. That's when you show up in situations and scenarios where you haven't been asked. And this is really dangerous for Christians because a lot of times we will camouflage people pleasing and chronic helping tendencies as being a servant of God. And I just want to let you know that God does not want you burnt out. God does not want you burnt out. You can't serve people. You're no good to anybody else when you are burnt out. Yes, are there some standards and responsibilities that we should have as Christians? Absolutely. But when your helping is hurting you, that's not in alignment with God's plan for your life. So if you're hurting when you are serving, you need to ask God to show you a better way to show up as a Christian. Avoid saying yes when you should be saying no. How many times have you said yes and immediately regretted it? And on the inside was saying, man, I should have said no. Avoid unnecessarily apologizing. We apologize because we can't afford things. We apologize because we didn't have time to do something. Apologies are only meant when you made a mistake. If you can't afford something or you can't show up, that is not a mistake. That's a reality. And essentially, when you're apologizing, you're taking responsibility for something that's not yours to control. you want to avoid avoiding conflict or confrontation. Lean into confrontation, lean into conflict. That's how you get an opportunity to kind of self advocate. When you avoid dealing with conflict and confrontation, you eliminate an opportunity to speak up for yourself and probably ask for what you need. Avoid packing your schedule. Yes, you don't want to overcommit, overplan, and overdo it. So those are some things we want to avoid if we want to reduce our people pleasing tendencies. So here's a clear sign for you. When helping hurts, that means it's time to stop. We don't realize it, but helping can become a weapon. And it's a weapon that we use towards ourselves, and it creates a cycle of self-sabotage. Um, if you are helping and it hurts you, then you can't be all you can be. You can't be the best version of yourself. We convince ourselves that if we help, we're better and we're more important and we're valued and we're loved, but essentially we're not. We're more broken. We actually become useless. We have nothing left to give. When you're helping is hurting you, you need to stop. And you have to look under your hood to be aware when you're hurting. I realize a lot of people don't know when they're hurting because they're numb. And they've gone numb because they've been hurting for so long. So it's really important that you get with a professional who can kind of help you get under that numbness and really connect with your feelings and identify, I am hurting. Because if you can't feel the pain, you don't know that you need to do something about it. So numbness is dangerous. All right, so I want to teach you next how to lead well during the holidays. We are all called to be leaders in this process. Your blessing in this process is going to demand your efforts. So, what exactly are you leading during the holidays? You are leading your peace. Your peace belongs to you. It is your responsibility to manage. Set boundaries, not bargains. What do I mean by that? Anytime you set a boundary, like you say no, or you make a decision not to do something, anytime you adjust that boundary because you want to make other people comfortable or happy, that becomes a bargain. A bargain is a negotiation or a deal between two people. Boundaries are non-negotiable for you. We don't want to make our boundaries bargains because then they don't serve what they're supposed to be. They're not living up to their purpose. Boundaries are there to protect us, but when they turn into bargains, they protect other people. Lead well by delegating like a boss. Hey, this holiday season, if you normally cook all the food and you're tired and your feet are achy, delegate dishes. Give someone the meats. Give someone a starch. Give someone a vegetable. You don't have to do everything this year. Give someone else a task. Or if you're used to hosting at your house, maybe you might commit to hosting, but you're not going to commit to cleaning, and you might get you a cleaning crew. Or you might decide, I'm not hosting, somebody else can host, but I will help clean. But it's totally okay to delegate. Everything doesn't have to be your responsibility to manage. Another part of trauma is the need to control. And sometimes trauma puts you in a position where you feel like everything is your responsibility, when in reality, it's not your responsibility. Make sure you lead by example. If you're going to be the leader of your own peace, you have to cultivate a climate of peace. You can't be the one causing the drama. You can't be the one making it hard for everybody to get along. You have to set the example, not only in your moves and your mannerisms, but you also have to set the example in how you set your boundaries. Teach your family how to set these boundaries during the holiday time. So that way the ones coming up after you now have a new transgenerational way of living that they can learn from. Get rid of your yes reflex. That is the urge to automatically just say yes to everything. That's also a trauma response. You want to say yes because you want approval, and that approval makes you give this. You get this false sense of safety. So try to refrain from just automatically replying yes. Take a long pause, think through things, and decide if a yes is in alignment with your leadership for your peace. Protect the cup. We talked about that. If you want to be a good leader, you have to protect that cup. You have to make sure you don't get so burned out that that cup disintegrates and now you have nothing to even hold water in. Really, you want to assess your peace management skills. You really want to learn how to manage your peace. So the way that you lead during the holidays is by managing your peace, by setting some good boundaries, delegating, setting an example, stopping that yes reflex, and protecting the cup, protecting yourself. So I have a little activity. This is a little different than what I normally do. I just want you guys to interact a little bit more. You can do this in your mind with yourself. You can type in the comments. You can even text anonymously if you would like. I want you to write down one boundary you will set this holiday season, and think about how you will enforce it. You can share in the chat the boundary and what you're going to do to enforce it. So I have an example here. I will not host and clean this year. So that is my boundary. So, and how I'm going to enforce that, I'm going to delegate someone else to host, or I might delegate someone else to clean this year. A lot of times we want a better life, but we don't really look at our lives and think about what we can actually shift that's going to put us in that direction. So this is a call to action. I want you to think about what needs to be shifted, write down the boundary, and how you're going to enforce that. I'll give you a couple of seconds here. All right. And then it may roll in a little bit later here. All right. Now I want to look at how to love well during the holidays. The first thing I want to encourage you to do is love yourself. Love yourself really good. The analogy I like to use is, think about how moms love their newborns when they first have them. They are so protective. They keep hurt and harm away from them. They don't let anyone touch the baby. They make sure the baby is fed and comfortable and cozy and all their needs are met. What would the world look like if we all loved ourselves like newborn babies? If we protected ourselves, if we made sure all of our needs were met, especially before we started taking care of everybody else's needs? I think we will all be in a better place. Another way to love well during the holiday season, say yes from a point of wisdom. Really take some time to assess. Do you have the capabilities? Do you have the resources? Do you have the time? And do you have the energy to do what you're saying yes to? And if the answer is yes, then go for it. All right. Again, protect the cup. So here is my love activity for you guys. All right. What I want you to do now is write down, think about, or text 3 ways you can show yourself love during the holidays. What can you do to love yourself good, like that newborn baby I was just talking about? Maybe you'll buy yourself a gift this year. You're always buying gifts for everybody else. Maybe you might plan a vacation this holiday season instead of house hopping and getting burned out and feeling like you're a monkey in the middle being pulled in different directions. Maybe you might start a new holiday tradition that's kind of low key and fun and doesn't put a lot of pressure on you. And I have to say this, self-love doesn't always have to be spending money or buying things. Sometimes you could change a way of being or a way of doing something that can demonstrate that you love you and you're going to do everything you can to protect yourself. All right, now we're going to look at how to rest well during the holidays. Plan rest like a party. If you put a party on your calendar and you had the time to go, you will be so excited to do it and probably very committed to doing it, and nothing would stop you from doing it. So plan rest like a party. Put it on your calendar. Make it a date that you cannot miss and you will not miss. Make it a priority. And say no without guilt. And lastly, acknowledge the trauma that rest brings. A lot of times, rest is counterintuitive to survival. The survival mind says be busy, keep your guard up because you may have to protect yourself from something bad happening. But when you rest, that guard goes down and that level of protection is not there. And that doesn't always feel good. Some people actually have panic attacks when it's time to rest and they don't know why. Can you imagine living your life with the high security settings on 24/7? You're not even in a traumatic environment, but you can't turn your mind off from needing to protect you the same way, even when you're in a safe space. That's kind of what happens, and solitude and rest and calm becomes very uncomfortable and very threatening. Anything that you practice long enough, you will master. My recommendation is practice resting. The more you practice resting, the better you will get at it. Sure, at first it might be extremely uncomfortable, but with time, commitment, and practice, it does get a little bit better. And I have a little affirmation for you at the bottom. Rest is right. It is appropriate to rest. You deserve to rest. Resting is not a crime. It's not something you have to earn. It's not something that you have to be a certain type of person to get it. Everyone deserves it. All right, so I have a little rest activity. If you're under the sound of my voice, I want you to be present with me right now. I know you might be doing what you're doing at home, and I can't see what you're doing, but I invite you, if you're in a safe space, to close your eyes. And I want you to just imagine a perfect moment of rest during this holidays, whatever that looks like for you. It could be you reading your favorite book. It could be you drinking a warm cup of coffee with hazelnut flavoring or vanilla, whatever you prefer. It could be spending some time outside in nature, maybe going on a hike, maybe going to a beach if you're near a beach. It could look like starting a new hobby. Maybe you might paint something. Whatever that looks like, whatever you imagine, you can open your eyes now. You can actually bring it to fruition. You just have to plan it out and be intentional. So what I have for you guys, I have a little holiday affirmation. Affirmations are powerful. If words can hurt, then words can heal. And you can build a new neural pathway toward believing in peace of mind this holiday season. So this is the affirmation. If you can, write it down or take a picture of this. But the affirmation is, this holiday season, I will lead with confidence, love with honesty, and rest without guilt. My peace matters. And if you find yourself getting triggered this holiday season, wanting to overspend, wanting to do things that are hurting you, find a quiet place and say this out loud to yourself. Write it. Put it on a sticky note. Put it on your mirror in the bathroom. Put it somewhere where you can affirm yourself when your trauma tells you you need to overspend, or your trauma tells you you're not being a good family member because you're not doing what everybody else is doing. Because we need to find a way to create new traditions around wellness and self-care instead of running ourselves into the ground every holiday season. A lot of times we have seasonal depression, not because it's less sunlight only, but because that's when the demands are very high and we really don't have the capacity to fulfill them. And we're just overwhelmed. So as usual, I have a little true and false segment for you, where we can kind of test your understanding to see what you retain from what I shared today. So is this true or false? And some of these are a little tricky, so I want you to think about it. And if it's true, put a T in the comment. If it's false, put an F in the comment. Setting boundaries during the holidays is selfish and harms relationships. Is that true or false? That is actually false. Setting boundaries during the holidays is selfish and harms relationships. Maybe before this conversation, you might have thought that, but I'm hoping that after this conversation, you know that that is false. It's not. It only harms your relationship with yourself. We tell ourselves it's going to harm relationships. That's why we keep doing what doesn't work. The next one. People-pleasing behaviors can lead to holiday burnout and resentment. Is that true or false? That is true. Sometimes we're showing up for people when they haven't asked us. Imagine buying someone a gift they didn't ask for and getting mad at them about it because they weren't appreciative enough. Does that sound familiar? Yes. When we overdo things for people when they don't ask and they don't show up the way that we imagine them showing up, what we're doing is setting ourselves up for disappointment. It's not on them. We have to check ourselves. We have to check what part of the problem is us. I am in recovery, and I've been there. I've been the one buying gifts and not hearing a thank you, and then feeling like people are very unappreciative. But I had to deal with me. I'm the problem because I have the power to stop buying gifts, and I had to deal with myself. Why am I buying gifts? Why am I doing this? And when I dealt with that, I was able to stop buying gifts, and I have so much more peace because now I'm not upset when they don't show appreciation because I'm not buying gifts. True or false? Rest is a form of self care and resistance, especially for individuals who have experienced generational trauma. Is that true or false? That is true. It is a form of resistance. That means it's not going to be easy. That means you're going to swim against the current. You're going to go against your natural tendencies. So it's really important that you really are aware and mindful and you're intentionally scheduling rest because it's going to be so easy not to do it. All right, the next one. Delegating tasks during the holidays shows weakness and poor leadership. That one is false. I know your trauma might tell you that you need to control everything. And if you're not controlling everything, then you're weak or you're not being a good family member or good big sister or good leader or good matriarch or good patriarch. But the reality is delegating is actually a sign of leadership. That would be a good example of peace management. I am delegating tasks away from me because that is conducive to increased peace in my life. And the very last one, saying yes to everything during the holidays is a sign of love and generosity. Because that's what Christians do. That's what good Christians do. We say yes to everything and we're generous to everybody. That's actually false. Saying yes to everything during the holidays is a sign of people pleasing tendencies. No one can say yes to 100% of everything. A lot of us don't have enough time and enough resources. We have to assess to see if the yes is appropriate. Think about this. Whenever you say yes to something, you're saying no to you. So if you say yes to everything, that means you're saying no to everything that you need. You might need more rest. You might need more time. But if you're trying to do everything during the holidays, you're not going to get those. So we have to be very careful about the information that we believe and that we're carrying. I think there's a quote that says, if we don't get clear about what's in our subconscious and put it in our consciousness, we will live our life thinking that it's fate. That basically means that a lot of the things that you're doing, you think it's who you really are. You think it's how life is supposed to go. And it's really your trauma being in the driver's seat, forcing you to do things that you're not conscious about. So get very clear about your traumas and what's motivating you to burn out this holiday season. You can do that through a self-help book, find a therapist, or just a simple dialogue and discussion like this. I'm sure some of you are reflecting on, wow, how does my trauma show up? Am I a people pleaser? Do I do things because I want to be valued? What's motivating me? What is the elephant in my room? And that's a good place to start to try to be different and try to be better. So as always, I like to leave you guys with a few resources. The book that I'm recommending this week, you can find it on Amazon. It's called Sacred Rest by Dr. Sandra Doughton Smith. A really good book. It combines spirituality with practicality, with teaching you how to have a better relationship with rest. I think that's something you could start this holiday season, especially being on track for January 2025. I also added this week, if you like lessons like this on our Tuesday talks, you can book me. I do corporate trainings. I can do individual sessions, whether that's virtual or in person. But if you would like to hear from me on any other topics or this one, I'll be more than happy to discuss how I can speak or teach with you. I'm sharing my wonderful coloring books from my soulful coloring book collections, or coloring books for the soul, forgive me. Girl Dad, a coloring book for Black dads and daughters. Fearless Queens, a coloring book for Black women. And my one of my favorites, My Therapist is Black, a coloring book for Black therapists. And 100 Bold Affirmations to Calm Your Fears. As always, thank you for attention. I have some resources here. Go to psychologytoday.com if you need a therapist. Put in your information. And I'm looking forward to the questioning, the questions, the comments, the feedback.
All right. Well, Janae, I got a few questions for you that came through in our text. So, first, I want to say that was good, because I think we all have had a couple of people pleasing moments, especially with your kids. Sometimes we don't realize we are trying to people please with our children because we don't want to let them down. We don't want to make them feel that, oh, we don't love them. Because guess what? We want them to be happy for Christmas, right? But sometimes you just don't have it, or it's not in the budget, and that's okay. However, sometimes I've done it, you go broke trying to make sure that they got the things that they want. And then you're trying to recover the first quarter of the year from trying to please them for something that by the 6 months they don't even know where it is. And so this, I think, is very impactful for a lot of people, and just to get an understanding. But one of the questions that we got, and you all, please, if you have a question, you could put it in the chat, or like I said, if you want to text your question anonymously to the number, you can do so. So please feel free. There's no right, wrong question. This is about you. So if you have a question, put it in the chat, ask her. This is your time to get, honestly, some free therapy or a free question that you may have had some wonders about. So one of the questions says, I am a compulsive buyer, so for holidays, it's hard to manage and budget. How can I help myself with this?
Mm. Well, compulsivity is strong. That means that you have a propensity to just do it without thinking. That means that your thinking is deactivated. I think one thing that we can do is try to increase your thinking. And the way that you do that is you can simply write about it. What are the consequences of being a compulsive shopper? Kind of write down maybe a pros and cons list. Like what has been the good that came from it? What has been the bad? Sometimes when we reflect ourselves on paper and we really see the impact of our decisions, we got to call ourselves out. Unfortunately, there's like no magic potion that's going to make the compulsion go away, but essentially you're going to have to really deal with that, and probably like we would treat someone who is addicted, because really it is an addictive cycle. The reason why you buy is because you get that burst of dopamine, and then you keep going back for that same reward, and then eventually you're going to need more to feel the impact of that reward. So you probably start shopping more. So learning to figure out why you are shopping, what emotional void are you trying to fill with shopping, and whatever comes up, deal with it, even if it's painful. Healing is a very painful process, and sometimes we get caught in these cycles because we don't want to deal with it. But if you can tolerate it, maybe with a professional or maybe on your own through self-help, and really figure out what void that's filling in, you can deal with it, and then you will no longer need the shopping to fill that void in, and you can replace it with more effective coping mechanisms.
This question, it's a question for you. It said, how did you get over your people pleasing skills, your people pleasing during the holidays?
I got tired of feeling unloved and unappreciated. Mine was just due to being fed up. Uh, my disgust with being unappreciated started to outweigh my need to be accepted and validated, if that makes sense. And I just said no more. And I also took accountability for what part of the problem is me. I'm the one doing the shopping. Nobody's asking me. I don't have to do this. And to be quite transparent with you, I felt guilty at first. I felt bad. I felt like my nieces and nephews were not going to be able to have good relationships with me because I stopped buying Christmas gifts. I thought that they would, you know why? It comes from childhood abandonment issues, right? Because, and like you were talking about, even with your children, a lot of times the things that we do with our children is because of our own issues with how it felt to be left and not be thought of. And I had to deal with that. I had to realize where it was coming from. What void am I trying to fill? Why is this trauma getting in my driver's seat every Christmas? I'm tired of living like this. One, I'm tired of being broke every Christmas. And then I'm tired of being broke and people not saying thank you. So how can I be unbroke and how can I feel appreciated? And I started to do that. Focus on those things.
This question says, how can I have a balance with giving to the people I love while not offending my partner?
That's a different topic, but
Hey, look, I was like, oh man, that's deep, right?
Well, the first thing we must recognize is that we can't control people. So your partner's offense is something that they have to be responsible for. If buying gifts for your family is in alignment with your values, then you got a couple of options. You can compromise and change that value a little bit, but that's a little hard to do. You can keep buying those gifts and let the chips fall where they land with your partner. But when you're in a relationship, I always say I'm not a part of what makes you feel unsafe, but I can be a part of your safety. So another route you can take is trying to understand your partner's experiences and why are they being offended when you buy things. Really trying to understand the why, because then you could try to be a part of their safety. And that doesn't mean you don't buy gifts, but you might change how much money you spend. You might now include your partner in helping you to shop. A lot of times we're trying to win the battle instead of the war. When if you just get a little creative and practice what I call creating a climate for safety for both partners, you could come up with something that works for everybody.
Another question. For the past 3 holidays, I haven't had the money for the holidays, so I ended up getting a loan, but I felt defeated because I sacrificed but really wasn't recognized for my sacrifice. How can I manage this better within myself?
Mm-hmm. That sacrifice was for you. Yeah. Just like me buying those gifts for my nieces and nephews was more about my fear of not having connection with them or me making them feel how adults have made me feel when they've abandoned me. That was my stuff. So you got to deal with the part of you that felt like getting a loan is what you needed to do. You got to deal with that part. What part of you is it? The part that maybe is afraid to fail? Maybe you would have felt like a failure if you didn't produce something on Christmas because of the social pressure to show up with gifts. Can we be okay if we don't look like what social norms say we're supposed to look like? Can we rest well in our own confidence and believe and know that we're enough even when we don't have money or things or whatever society says we're supposed to have?
How would you put the therapeutic perspective on the Christian values that we are supposed to give to those that have less than us, but people may not see the less that we may have at the moment?
Okay, I'm going to make sure I got it again. Say it again.
What is the therapeutic perspective of giving when it comes to Christianity when we're supposed to give and we may not have it ourselves to give? Because people they see the outward, I guess is what they're trying to say, like they see what they have or different things, so it's assumed that they have it to give, but they do not.
Ooh, sometimes I know you guys have heard people, maybe this is you, where you might say, no one ever helps me. No one ever comes to my rescue. No one ever shows up for me. And I've come to discover that people who say people don't help them and they do everything on their own, those are people who usually put on capes. They have Superman and Superwoman complex. These are people who overcommit, who are people pleasers, who will put the world on their backs and will show up even when they don't have it. Superman and Superwoman don't always have the resources to show up, but they show up and they make it happen. Let me tell you this, as long as you wear a cape, nobody will come to your rescue because you are the one that's supposed to rescue. So I would say take your cape off.
Ooh, that's good, girl. That's gonna preach right there. I told you, I'm
Take
gonna
your
give you
cape off.
that was good. I like that. Take the cape off. I like that. We're gonna take the cape off. And you know what? Sometimes I think as parents, we don't realize that we're actually putting that cape on. Because you don't want to let your kids down. You want to show up. You don't want them to feel like they're without, or their friends have all this and they don't. But I think the important thing of the holidays is really your presence. Being active, doing something creative, even if you don't have the money, making some macaroni noodle cards or something. You have to get creative with where you are, because that is what creates the memory and the experience. Because our children will remember the things that we do with them more than the things that we do for them at times. And so that is a thing that while you have a break from work or days off, do some things that are interactive that maybe you don't do on the norm, because that is a gift. It may not seem like a gift, but I promise you that will be a gift to your children. And Janae, if you can, do you have any things that you can offer to the people that maybe finances are not their friend right now? I don't like to say broke, but they're in between their blessings. What are some creative things that you can think of that they can do at home, with family, friends, or keepsakes that they can make that's very inexpensive? Do you have any suggestions?
Absolutely. Christmas crafts. I know you can make ornaments. You have Dollar Tree. I don't know if you have a Dollar Tree where you are. You can get like those little wooden ones for almost $1 and just decorate them. Going outside in nature. So go on a hike. Do a Christmas hike. You could start a new Christmas tradition, and it could be something like where you guys go get dollar ice creams and have ice cream somewhere different. There are a lot of free community events around the holiday times, and that is something that I always tell my families who are not doing well financially. Go to those free Christmas events. A lot of times what happens, they're giving away toys anyway, especially for the younger children. They have all types of attractions and fun family thing. So you can just create new experiences. Get very creative. See if the family can pull together and do something. And it may not have to be something big. So like a potluck. If you bring the vegetables and someone else brings the meat, then that way all the financial burden is not on everybody to get together for a family dinner, but everybody's kind of chipping in. But any of those and any combination or variations or anything else you can think of, but don't allow how your brain tells you need to show up to destroy all possibilities for the holidays. You are so much more than what you can do for people, and we don't give ourselves enough credit.
That is true. That is true. Well, as always, Janae, thank you. If there's no more questions, I didn't see any more questions come across the chat. We appreciate you. Thank you for the tools, the wisdom that you poured out, and just the things that are informative for people to have a better self, a better mind, better health. So we appreciate you. Y'all, if y'all can put some hearts, some love in the chat. If you got anything that was beneficial from Miss Janae today, let us just show her some love and appreciation, because she takes her time out to come and pour into us on these Tuesdays. So I'm very grateful, because I'm also learning with you all. There's things that I don't know. So I'm truly grateful for you pouring out to us on tonight, Janae. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. Y'all already know, as we do, we can't leave without praying. But before I pray and get us out of here, I do want to say, hey, this holiday season, we're sponsoring 20 families here at Love and Faith. So if you go to our website at lfrchurch.org, you can go there. We have you can submit a family under communities. under holidays, as well as I'm doing Mother and Father of the Year. I want to, acknowledge parents that are doing their thing, because it's not always easy being a parent. It's not always easy being a dad or a mom, especially single parents. So they don't have to be a member of my church. This is just something that God has given me to do. So once a year, this is what I'm going to do. So if you go there, there is under communities, it'll say Mother and Father. It's the Roosevelt Garrison Senior Father of the Year Award and the Apostle Mary McKenzie Award. One is after my great-grandfather because he's just been instrumental in my family, then my apostle that passed away. So what I want to do, I'm going to get them an award so that they know they are seen, they are valued, they are treasured. The only thing I ask is that you just submit their name, a little summary about them, and then we will pick from all those that are sent. And then on the 15th at our next service in person, we will announce that as well as do some giveaways and things like that. So please help me to help others, as well as if you want to help contribute to our 20 families, you can go to lfrchurch.org/give. Go on to holidays to give a donation. Everything is tax deductible. You will get a tax refund for your contributions, a tax statement for your contributions. So we appreciate you. We cannot do it without you all. And the reason I ask is for that, because one thing I try to do is actually give the kids the things they want. So I get their list. We get a few things that they need and a few things that they want, because, it makes it more personal. Because everybody doesn't have it. Everybody can't do it. Some people, it's either pay my bills or get something for Christmas. So we're just trying to bring balance to everything that's going on. But before we get out of here, I just want you to know this holiday, make it more personal for you. Not just about what you spent, but the memories that you create. The treasures that we store up in heaven are the things that we do with those that we love. So make sure you're creating memories this holiday season. So, Father, I just thank you for all that was poured out on tonight. Father, those that may be hurting, those that may be going through because financially they're not where they want to be. But, God, we thank you that all resources come from you. So, Father, I thank you for sending what they need to their hands, to their accounts. Father, just sending people to be a blessing and seeing them. God, anybody that's going through an anguish right now because of what they do not have, I just ask that you give them peace and you blow peace into their world, into their life, into their mind. God, do what only you can do. God, and allow their children to see them and appreciate all that they're sacrificing, their parents, grandparents. Father, allow kids to be grateful this holiday season, because ultimately it is about you. So, Father, as we leave this place, God, be with us, keep us, and camp your angels around us. Father, we love you and we praise you. In Jesus' mighty name, amen, amen, amen. All right, I love y'all. I pray y'all got something out of this Therapy Tuesdays. Join us on Thursday for Digging Deeper. I got something for you. We're still talking about these hidden masks, but we're about to unmask something Thursday. I love you. Have a great night. Be